On Monday's show, Torngat Mountain's MHA Randy Edmonds said the province would prevent the price from going over $1.55 by reducing the tax to make up for any increases from the PUB. Right now, the price of gas in Nunatsiavut is $1.53.50, and it's the same price in Black Tickle. Elsewhere on the South Coast, it's $1.51.50. Now, while all of this is happening, a marathon filibuster of some budget measures continues at the House of Assembly this morning, and that's where we've reached the MHA for Cartwright-L'Anse. Lisa Dempster joins us on the phone. Ms. Dempster, good morning.
Good morning, Bailey. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing? I want to start by asking you how this marathon filibuster is going. What's happening right now?
Well, it's been a long week since Monday, and I've certainly found out that I can operate with much less sleep than I would have anticipated. But all in all, it's going okay. And no matter who the government of the day is, it's a form of democracy, and it's an option that the opposition have to filibuster something if they're opposed to it.
Is there any end in sight, or is there any discussion on your side of the floor about imposing a closure of this debate?
I don't see an end in sight. I'm sure there is. There's only so long that people can operate going around the clock, and the House has been open virtually around the clock since we opened on Monday. But there's been no dialogue to my knowledge about invoking closure and shutting this down.
All right, let's talk about the price of gas, because that's why we've asked you on the show this morning. On Monday, as I said, Randy Edmonds told listeners that if the price of gas on the North Coast were to raise to $1.55 and beyond, that the government would scale back the gas tax so as to, lessen the impact on people there. Is there any plan to do the same on the South Coast?
Well, kudos to my colleague. He's been working hard. He's a great voice for his constituents on the north coast of Labrador, and they've made some progress there. I guess in my district, Bailey, just for the education of listeners, we've got a couple of things going on. I'm unique, I believe, in the 40 districts in that back in maybe the late 90s, early 2000s, the province was divided up into zones under petroleum pricing. And what happened at that time, we didn't have a road connection in southeast Labrador, so there was some infrastructure differences to the Straits, to Labrador Straits, and we were in one zone in southeast, and the Straits was in another zone, and we had a 10-cent price difference. So that's been a bone of contention over the last number of years, this 10-cent difference within my district, and it's been difficult for retailers. If you live north of Red Bay, then there's you're paying 10 cents more. So upon forming government on the 30th of November, I went to work straightway, working with petroleum pricing, asking for a review because we've had a road connection since 2001, and there was no review done for 14 years. In April, after a lot of dialogue back and forth and phone conversations and letter writing, in April I did sit down with petroleum pricing, and on the 17th of May I received a letter saying that it had gone to the PUB on the week of May the 9th, and they had agreed that they had considered a request for a review of the petroleum pricing, and they would be engaging with the major oil suppliers, looking at now the method of delivery and how it's changed. It's all the same, considering the expansion of the Trans-Labrador Highway, and that once sufficient data had been collected, the board would reevaluate the price, and the letter stated that they would collect this information as quickly as possible. So I want to tell listeners, the constituents in Cartwright-L'Anse, those especially in Southeast, that we're doing, the PUB have agreed to do a review, and I'm hopeful that once they do, then that 10-cent difference will be gone. Now, in addition to that, Budget 2016 put in place a 10-cent rebate for border towns to obviously cut down on sales that may be going out of the province. So this was put in place on the Lab West end and also at the Quebec border, near Route 510 in Lanse-Claire, the southern part of my district. So what actually happened when that rebate got put in place from Clair to Red Bay, a 10-cent rebate, it exasperated a divide that already was in place. So now we have a 20-cent difference. So I've met with the Minister of Finance. I've been back and forth in dialogue with the Premier's office, and a briefing note is being prepared and will be going to Cabinet in the very near future.
So you've got a number of different fuel prices in your region, and the Straits to Red Bay, it's $1.31.9. Lodge Bay to Cartwright, $1.51.5. And then in Black Tickle, the price freeze is still on there, the same as it is on the North Coast, $1.53.5. They've got a different price again. So what about people in Black Tickle? Could they get this tax break at the $1.55 rate?
Well, what's been happening with Black Tickle, Bailey, is because they're an island in the middle of the ocean and the fuel is supplied by a tanker to that community. They have come under the North Coast rates, but we did push to have Black Tickle included with the North Coast cap. So they are included in that cap price. Within the District of Cartwright-L'Anse, Clair, all of the communities are pretty much equal, so it is recognized that this 20-cent difference is not acceptable, and that's what we're working on right now. What's happening is the rebate got applied at the border, but the result for me is that I am having some cross-border happening within my own district.
Right, so people going from the Lodge Bay side down to Red Bay to get their gas.
Absolutely. So I'm hoping that my cabinet is going to look at this and we'll make a decision that what I've asked for, instead of the rebate being applied for Clair to Red Bay and those being considered cross-border communities, I've asked for my district to be considered a border district, which in fact it is. And so I'm hoping that I'll have something positive for the constituents in the near future.
So it sounds like there's a lot of promising work going on, but what about in the meantime, with the price at $1.51 with no price freeze in Cartwright to Lodge Bay, it's quite conceivable that it could rise to $1.55, and if that's the most people in New Nazivoot are going to have to pay, why not cap it for the South Coast as well?
Well, I guess we have to consider, looking at the cost of delivering and things like that, and that's why different zones were put in place. So that's why the difference from Cartwright-L'Anse Clair to the North Coast. But, Bailey, when we go back to Budget 2016, we have to, again and again, our Premier have said, the gasoline tax was one of the things that we heard from the Government Renewal Initiative, that it was a fair way to share this revenue burden. I would be remiss if I didn't mention this enormous deficit that we have, but I also want to tell listeners that just as recent as this week and a number of times over the last couple of days, the Finance Minister have come out and said we will be revisiting this gas tax in the fall, and the intent for us is that we will eliminate the gas tax, as soon as oil prices begin to recover.
All right, Ms. Dempster, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We'll let you get back to the floor.
Thanks so much. And I also just want to take a moment to say we've got lots of positive things that are happening despite the bad budget in my area. Barely 10% of the infrastructure budget have gone into the Trans-Labrador Highway. We've got some great work being done with pavement now in the Labrador Straits, and there will be announcements rolling out over the next number of weeks in capital works projects for a number of communities in my district. So certainly some positive things coming, and the new income supplement and the enhanced seniors benefit. Not all bad news, and I'll continue to advocate strongly for my district here with my government and with Cabinet.
All right, thanks again. That is Lisa Dempster, the Liberal MHA for Cartwright-L'Anse Clair.